I'm mentally ill and I've done it again by having questionable Transformers figures in my collection. Bumblebee, Megatron, and Starscream. I'm done so bad. We'll be taking a look at all three of them to see if they're any good or have any problems. Right away, Bumblebee is the worst shell former I have ever seen, but it still might surprise you. This oddity is the CS01b by Collection Space. I got this from TF Safari. Make sure to use this code and check the site out. If you told me Bumblebee should be a robot anime girl, I would tell you you're absolutely insane, but you're also absolutely correct. Like, imagine if in the first Transformers movie, instead of this, we got this. This movie would have made $1 billion. Wait, no, with inflation, it did make over $1 billion. Remember when people actually went to movie theaters? This is a very interesting figure for all you Coomers, Gooners, and Jelkmaxers out there. I own way too many of these types of figures. That doesn't mean I'm gonna stop though. This figure also has a lot of problems too. We'll start with one of the major ones. The transformation is absolutely insane.
This is bullshit!
Just a heads up, I may not be able to do the vehicle mode correctly in this video, but I still want to make a video about this figure, and there's not much to say about the vehicle mode anyways, except for the fact that you can completely detach it from the robot mode and have it by itself next to the robot mode.
What?
The figure itself has taken the classic Bumblebee look and fused it with an e-girl. Aesthetically, this figure reminds me of the Fire Toys Windblade model kit. This one I own is actually a knockoff action figure version of it. Side by side, you could be fooled into thinking these are created by the same company, but you'd be wrong. And even though I do like the way this figure looks, let's continue with talking about a lot of the bad. So these hands are insanely loose and keep popping off, and these are about as much as I can get them in there. So this is really annoying when you're trying to pose and transform the figure. The feet also keep coming off, and this is especially annoying during the transformation. And this piece that connects to her ass doesn't really have the strongest connection either. You really gotta like peg it in there. I think I need to push harder. We will deal with that later. But anyways, my biggest issue with the figure is the transformation. It's really difficult to do correctly and to get all the pieces to line up properly. I'll attempt it again in this video, but with my level of brain rot, I'm not sure how much I will succeed. Let's hope the Megatron's transformation later in this video is better, otherwise we're gonna have a hard time. By the way, make sure to subscribe if you enjoy watching. Also, this figure is basically a shell former. That's not what I meant. The robot mode itself just folds up inside the car mode. All the car bits minus the front wheels over here are these pieces that attach to the back. This is 99% of the car mode, and it's honestly really kind of disappointing. This top piece has an unnecessary amount of folding going on, which makes the figure extra complicated. I do like how they made the back kind of resemble wings, I will give it that. It really seems like this figure wasn't initially designed as being a transforming figure, and then they realized, hey, maybe we should make a Transformers figure transform. I don't know, it just feels like the sex appeal of this figure took a bigger priority than the Transformers part of this figure. Now let's get to the general design of the figure. She does look very good. It really does go for the anime girl aesthetic. She also has a very slim and slender appearance, similar to the Windblade. You can definitely tell she is meant to be a girl. Her general colors are the yellow and the black, with some silver and blue throughout it. Also, there is a Cliff Jumper variant. I'm hoping Collection Space does make more Transformers figures in this style. Just please make the transformation easier. It does pair very well with the Nicey figure, which I did get while I was visiting Japan. By the way, that Japan video is almost done. It's very long. I came across the most expensive Transformers, a life-sized Gundam, and I lose the most expensive thing I bought there. Please make sure to check it out once the video's been released. I've put a lot of work into it. Now this figure has a very angular design to it as opposed to the G1 boxy style. The angular style does remind me a bit of the Transformers Prime universe aesthetic. There was clearly effort put into the looks of this figure, just not the transformation. Which is why I'm not too worried about the transformation and vehicle mode in this video, and totally not because I'm incapable of doing it. I swear, I'm not the only one who's had trouble with this. The plastic quality is decent on this figure, could be maybe a little bit better. The head sculpt on this figure is absolutely fantastic, very clean looking, and definitely resembles Bumblebee. The back does have some black over there to separate it up. We also do have these classic horns, which definitely seems a bit larger than usual. Bumblebee's horns aren't normally that big. These ones seem like demon succubus horns, which, by the way, I'm gonna do a little friend plug here. My friend makes these really neat succubus horns on Etsy, along with some other cool stuff. You should check him out. Link in the description. I love the shiny blue on the forehead, and it looks even better on the eyes. They are very, very reflective, so you can see yourself in them and any self-regret you may have had for being a degenerate and buying this figure. Will there be more regret when we get to the other two figures later on in this video? The rest of the face is a basic anime style sculpt, and it has that flesh skin tone to it, which is a little weird to see on a robot. Now we do get 3 other face pieces. We have the regular face called normal, the happy face called laugh, the mouth open face, it's called roar. I'm not gonna lie, this one is a little sus. And then we have the tongue out ahigao girl style face. This one is called grimace for some reason.
What's wrong, Ronald-kun? Could it be your craving by McNuggies?
She also comes with 2 peace sign hand pieces, so you know exactly what this kind of expression was meant for. I'm just going to use the normal face, and to replace the face, we just take out this piece over here, pull out the face piece, and we can put in the new one. Put that back on. Now we get a bit of neck detail down over here that does look a little bit mechanical. Articulation-wise, the head is on a ball joint, so it can look up and down, and we do get a rotation, side-to-side movement, and the neck can move back and forth. So she can do that sucking you know, I'm not going to make that joke. The chest area has some prominent features. Boobs, I'm talking about her boobs. I do like some of the intricacy here along the collarbone and in the middle. It kind of looks like a bug face, and you're not going to unsee that now. There's a bit more blue in the middle, as well as some blue decals on the side. The entire yellow chest area feels like it's meant to resemble a crop top shirt that shows off a bit of midriff, because let's be honest, the black is meant to resemble the exposed skin section of a person, while the yellow is supposed to be the clothing or armor. Interesting how these bits are meant to look like it's cupping her boobs. The back here does look really weird around the shoulder areas. However, I do like some of the spinal detail over here. The abdomen area does have a very human-like and has a toned look to it. In terms of movement, there is no waist rotation, which is kind of weird, but we do get rotation up here at the chest to make up for the lack of waist rotation. We can move the abs back and forth, and the chest can also move back and forth. Very squeaky. We also have the shoulder pads, which do look very nice and have some blue decals on them. These can move up and down. We have some slender arms with some die-cast joints over here connecting to a yellow armored looking arm piece with once again some of that nice blue decals, which I really do like the color of blue this figure has on it. For the arm articulation, it can move back all the way there as part of the transformation. We can also get a full 360 rotation, bicep rotation, elbow bend, which is on a double hinge. The hands are on a ball joint, which once again it will constantly pop off. There is some yellow paint on here, but the paint matching isn't the best. The open hands have a very similar sculpt to the Windblade figure. In terms of hand pieces though, we do get the peace sign hands, the fisty hands for fisting, and the weapon holding hands for the accessories, which we will get to later. Luckily, all these other hands don't have that issue of looseness. The hip area has a nice design to it. This is definitely supposed to resemble a bikini bottom. Once again, some nice blue decals. The skirt pieces on the side can move out as some bit of articulation, and if we turn her around, she does have some cake. The legs are pretty slender and have some really cool decals to them. As much as I hate bugs, I do like how this one is kind of like a bug design. More decals further down, and I do like how there's kind of a B hexagonal pattern going on here. It also says love and peace, and hey, I also love peace. On the back of the legs, these are the wheels for the front of the vehicle mode, the only vehicle mode cable piece on this figure. Knee pads look really cool, very sci-fi like. Once again, I like how it's not just one color. The rest of the leg designs, we do have some more yellow bits back here, some more decals, pretty simple stuff. The legs can move forward, they can be brought out to the side. It does this as part of the transformation, and the hand has fallen off. That's great. Legs can move back over there. We get a knee bend, which goes about right over there. Coming down to her feet, she has heels, which are great for fighting wars in. This piece of blue also looks really cool. Feet can spin around and move back and forth, and these back heels can move. This blue piece can also move. Now we are not done with the robot mode. To attach the back pieces, this one goes in on the back, and let's see if we can fully get it in this time. And I think we do need to just kind of push it in. Oh, fuck. God fucking damn it. Yeah, a lot of problems with this figure. Okay, let's try this again. Okay, it clicked in this time. Hopefully it stays in, because yeah. Oh, that's the wrong way. All right, for this, the back of the car mode should be facing up with these taillights. This should also click in. And the connection on this I found to be really sturdy. And with this on, the figure looks kinda worse. It's got a bunch of the vehicle mode cables stuck to the back now. She's got an even bigger dumpy now. And she is also a bit back heavy. And as stated before, this is 99% of the vehicle mode. I would have preferred these bits to be incorporated on the actual body of the robot mode, even if it meant we got a less feminine looking design. But once again, I do like how the back kibble kind of somewhat resembles that of a bee, and these are optional for the robot mode, which is nice if you want to display it without these pieces. It does make it also kind of parts forming, which is a major Transformer sin, but it's also not really parts forming, because to transform this, you need to have the pieces plugged in, and you can sort of adjust this to make it look look better however you want. I'm not really gonna bother with it. Once again, it is just disappointing that this is the entire vehicle mode and everything just kind of folds in on itself. So accessories wise, we do get a really cool looking shield. I love the design on this and all the colors. It's very sleek looking. And this does have a place at the bottom of the vehicle mode. I'm not gonna bother with that. We also get two really neat looking blasters. I love the design on this. It's very sci-fi like. And lastly, we get a stand, which is amazing because she falls over like a tree with that backpack. And we do get accessory storage with it, so that's awesome. Oops. Hold on. There we go. Now, the transformation for this figure is such a pain in the ass. That seems to be everyone's experience, but I will attempt to do it again on video to the best of my ability. This is going to be a make fun of Mecha Z moment. And then after, we'll get to our other figures to see if they give us any problems. So we can start off with coming over to the back. Hand is already fallen. Pull this out and align these bits for the front of the car. Line this up. And now we need to rotate it this way. And then this rotates that way. And then we just kind of line this up, bring these flaps out of the way. Then we can worry about adjusting all that later. Move those hip skirts out of the way. Take this leg, bring it out like that and do that. Flip this open, take this wheel, bring it forward and then unfold that. Same on this side, open that flap, wheel forward, unfold that. Open this on the back of the leg, rotate it this way. Rotate the leg inward, making sure this blue bit is up. Now we need to try and fold the leg in half, which can be kind of a pain with all these pieces in the way, and this one has popped off. I am doing the other leg now, and it's such a pain in the ass because all the pieces keep getting in the way. Now I believe for both legs, we need to take this out and flip it around and bring it up. I will probably have to readjust that later. We can now kind of do the front of the vehicle mode and get these pieces tabbed in. Rotate her head around, unfold all this over here and get this to line up. Her hand is popped off again. And then once again do the same on the other side. You probably can't see this, but we need to fold the arms in here. So it needs to look kind of like this. If this part isn't folded properly, then the figure itself won't transform. And as you can see, all these panels are a pain in the ass. So now really the rest of this involves just unfolding everything. So this is supposed to come out here. We can unfold this, unfold that. Let's see, you can unfold this piece, unfold that. And this is such an interesting piece. This is made of some like rubber material. And then once again, we're going to proceed to unfold everything over here as well. Transforming it back into robot mode like this was also a pain, so hopefully all these parts were initially correct. Good lord, the hand has fallen off again. I am trying my best here. Okay, so this needs to extend out and go over here, kind of connect everything. And now we're just going to want to do the exact same thing on this side of the figure. And I'm telling you, it is such a pain in the ass to do all this. I hate transforming this thing. At this point, it's kind of easy to tell where all the parts need to go. We're essentially just lining everything up. This needs to rotate around. This should tab into here. And we've essentially unfolded everything. Now it's just a matter of getting everything to line up. I'm giving up with the hands at this point. Now initially you might think it's easier to remove the pieces and transform them. I did try that and it was still a pain. And if you have any solutions on how to transform this figure properly, leave a comment below, because this is pretty difficult, or I could just be an idiot. So this is popped off, and I also just realized this needs to be pointing this way. Don't forget to do that. So now let's see if we can actually get things to line up. So now that snaps in better, sort of. When everything is just shitty, flimsy panels, it's hard to get anything to line up properly. Yeah, this is about as good as I can get it. I'm not gonna bother with this anymore. In the pictures, if you can actually get this properly transformed, it does look really good. It is a Volkswagen, well, her ass is now showing. It is a Volkswagen Beetle. The vehicle mode would look good if this wasn't such a pain in the ass. And the size is pretty good. And then underneath, these are supposed to close up and her boobs are supposed to be showing through this gap over here. So like if you are able to get it properly, honestly, this figure's not really worth transforming because the transformation is absolutely garbage. And would you look at that? I finally got it. Well, this is what I mean by the figure is a shell former. If you want proper transformation instructions, there are other videos out there, and those people also struggle. This wasn't actually meant to be a tutorial, so I think the base robot mode is pretty fantastic, and that's how I'm going to be displaying it too. Now let's move on to the next figure, because I think this one will surprise you. Starscream is one of the most fearsome Decepticons in the Transformers universe.
I'm stupid! I'm stupid!
But what if that classic design was turned into peak aesthetics as an anime girl? This figure was sent to me by Cowkeys. Use this code for 6% off with my affiliate links in the description below. Let's take a look at the box. The box art for this is pretty nice. Over here we have an image of Starscream in a little bit of a sus pose. I know it's trying to recreate that one scene from the animated movie, but without the cape it looks a little bit more, you know. Quick look at the side of the box, the back, and the other side. It is a lot smaller than our other two figures. Oh, I'm fucking dying. This figure takes a Starscream look and mixes it with an anime girl. Yeah, we're going back there again, but this time, this one is not so sexualized. And that's disappointing. I mean, surprisingly, you know, not everything needs to be super sexualized, so that is good. Not that that would even stop me. I am a grade A gooner with an S-rank porn stash. That sounded much funnier when I wrote it in my script, and now I regret that I ever said that. The first thing I noticed about this figure is that it's tiny. It is small. This Happy Meal sized figure is only 3.75 inches and in the legend scale. But does size even matter? I wish it was bigger. There's definitely a jar joke in here somewhere, but I'm not degenerate enough to do that. Just kidding, I'm lying. Don't expect any better of me. So I really do like this figure. It's a very unique take on Starscream. I'm just not a big fan of the smaller scale. Here she is next to Commander Class Optimus, Armada Starscream, Studio Series Bumblebee, and Siege Starscream. So as you can see, it's smaller than the will to live of an average millennial. Now, I do understand legend scale stuff is supposed to be more affordable, but we are Transformers fans, so making poor financial decisions is second nature to us. Also, this thing is going to cost you around $40 anyways, so for a non-transforming figure, that's already a bit up there in price. Once again, I do have that 6% off code. Iron Factory makes transforming figures in this price range as well, so I do find the price to be a bit more questionable than my attraction to fictional characters. Now, there are two more Seekers in this line, Lightwing, which looks adorable as fuck and should be releasing soon, and Skywing, which doesn't seem to be fully fleshed out yet. These all have some kind of animal theme going on. Now, all these figures seem like interesting concepts, although I can't help but wonder why they didn't start off with something like Optimus Prime or Bumblebee. I find it to be a pretty bold move. Perhaps they wanted to do these Seekers first so they could reuse the mold several times and see how it plays out. The plaster quality on this figure isn't bad. However, since it is small, I do find myself trying to be a little bit careful with it. But overall though, it doesn't really feel cheap, which is great. We'll have to see if the plaster quality on the Megatron is any good once we get to that. The aesthetics of this figure are also really fantastic. I love the way this figure looks. And I really like the idea of Transformers reimagined as mecha girls. The sculpt work on here is just absolutely top notch, and you can tell a lot of effort was put into this, and it really captures all the core elements of Starscream. The colors look great, and the reds and blues are very vibrant, making this figure stick out. The little bits of paintwork done on here are also fantastic. There are also bits of pre-molded panel working, which really helps give the figure some extra details so it doesn't look too plain. Now diving into the accessories, inside this little Ziploc bag, we have a stand adapter, or at least I'm pretty sure that's one. If it's not one, I'm gonna seem like an idiot. Inside this little weed bag, she comes with an insane amount of hands. We get 6 extra pairs that I'm not gonna bother putting on because I'm too lazy for that. What do we got? We got a peace sign. Oh god, these are too damn small. We got the peace sign, open hand, a finger pointing hand, this hand, there's like a holding hand too. There's a lot of hands in here and they're tiny and I don't want to lose any of these. Oh god, getting this back in is gonna be a pain. Ugh. Okay, that went pretty well. Face accessories wise, she comes with her regular face. As well as an angry face and a happy face, which Starscream should never be. And inside here, come out, we get 2 horrifying blank faces, which is actually for us to add some decals onto. I'm not going to do that because I'm lazy. We also have a bunch of other optional decals we can put on throughout the figure, and essentially instructions for where they go. I'm too lazy for that. There's a trend here, you see. Now on the figure, we get her 2 ion blasters. I mean, null rays. These are null rays. We get her 2 null rays, which aren't shoulder mounted, but instead they are behind the arms and they can extend out all the way. Personally, I think that's a good choice considering how this figure is designed. Now that stand adapter goes in the stand port at the back, and actually there are 2 stand ports. There's one more right over here. Now let's dive into the wow, okay. Now let's dive into the figure while comparing it to its counterparts. As you can see, this figure does have a lot of the main tropes that a Starscream figure would when compared side by side. Every little piece is colored in pretty much the exact same way, from the main gray body bits to the reds and blues on the arms and legs. Definitely much proportionally smaller wings on this figure, and there's no nose cone at the back because this figure doesn't transform. Going into the head, instead of the robot head, we get an anime girl head. She has a smirky face on her, giving her that cocky vibe that Starscream has.
Oh, too bad. He's blown his vocal components. I guess that makes me the new leader.
And the eyes on here are impressively painted. We do have some eyebrow detail which is covered up by the hair, but back again on the eyes, they're a really nice red color, and they are not stickers, they're painted on there. Now the rest of the head sculpt is pretty good. I think the sculpt work on the hair is done really nicely, and instead of the Princess Leia buns, we get these over here, and we do have double ponytails at the back of this figure. And I do like the clever use of the intakes. Instead of being near the shoulders, we have them as bunny ears on this figure. I never really expected Starscream to be a bunny girl. The null rays look really nice, pretty much much the classic look with a little bit of silver paint. The wings also have some of that nice panel working detail going on with some silver and red paint that goes all the way around the back. Obviously, there's going to be no Decepticon insignia on here because this is a third-party figure. I don't know, maybe the Playboy logo will work or something. The arms are pretty basic, just a simple 2 colors. It would be nice if this did have a little bit of extra detail like on other parts of the figure and like how some of the other figures are. The main body piece does look incredibly nice. Incredible sculpt work for this area over here. The mold for the cockpit and the fans are done super well. There's not a whole level of intricacy on this figure, but the bits that are intricate have an intricate level of intricacy that are intricating very intricately. Also, the paintwork on here is done super well, so that's like also a plus point. Like, there's no paint spillage on this figure, which is really impressive because of how tiny it is. I'm surprised the detail for the fans are that good for something this small as well. It really replicates every bit of the original design. Now, the main abdomen piece has some silver paint over here, which seems to be just a design choice. This figure is based off of this artwork. Now, coming down, instead of the front skirt pieces, we have side skirt pieces. They just seem to be pretty loose, so that is kind of a downside. And that kind of worries me because it could break easily, or it could not. I don't know, it hasn't happened yet. But the legs are sculpted really well. A lot of inspiration from the original design is here. We get some skin for the thighs. Sorry. We got some tail fins over here as well, instead of it being on the bottom of the feet. The rest of the legs have a really great robotic sculpt to them. Instead of a Transformers design, it kind of feels more like a mech design, but it is a really great robotic looking sculpt and definitely way more stylized than the original design. Now, instead of flat feet, we have heels, which surprisingly she can stand in and do a bunch of poses in. It's a really nice looking figure, and the articulation is pretty great as well. So the head can move up and down. We do get a full 360 rotation on here. Movement on the pigtails. We do get some articulation on the wings as well. These null rays, I said it right this time, they can pretty much move all around. They can move individually here as well. The arms are on a ball joint, so we can move them out and spin them around. Bicep rotation here. We get the hand popping out over there. Elbow bend, some hand rotation. The arms can move up and down from here as well. Now, in my experience with the figure, if you move the arms a little too high, they do pop out, which is kind of unfortunate, but the pieces aren't loose. Rotation over there. We can move the body back and forth. These skirt pieces can move as well. Legs forward and back. A knee bend, which is pretty good. Leg rotation out to the side over there. The feet are on a ball joint. So overall, with the articulation on this, you can get a decent variety of poses with it. Now, this is definitely a pretty neat little figure. It's definitely niche, so I don't know if they're going to make any more of these. I like the figure and I definitely recommend it if you like the aesthetic. However, it is a little bit up there in that price range, and if they make more of these characters, then I might get them. This is Armadon Megatron, a great figure, and this is, okay. This is the Mastermind Creations Ocular Max IF01X Aries Armadon. That's a mouthful. Put it on a Star Wars text crawl. You could also just call her E-Girl Megatron. I imagine she still has David K's voice.
You are a freak.
This is a modified version of their 1F01A Tarn figure, which is a female version of Tarn. And this figure blew me away with how great it is. Like, look at this. The treads for the tank mode are fully functional. This is amazing and satisfying to do. This was sent to me by TF Safari. Make sure to use this affiliate code for 3% off. This figure looks and feels amazing. She has some decent weight to her. Never say that to a woman, by the way. And I didn't expect it to be this heavy when I took it out of the box. The quality of the material this is made from is really nice, and there is a decent amount of die cast on this figure. And the colors for some of the die casts blend in pretty well instead of just being a regular metallic silver. There's definitely some on the feet as well as this part back here. And there's most likely some inside the figure as well. Aesthetically, I think this figure looks amazing. The sculpt work is fantastic. It's not overly done and has the right amount of detail to it. The proportions are nice, and side by side with the Legacy Armada Megatron, you can see a lot of what they took in the original Armada design to put onto this figure. More on that later. I like how this figure takes the concept of turning Megatron into a fembot character.
Female.
I'm surprised they didn't really like over-sexualize this figure in any way like how other third-party companies do. Like, why would anyone do that? Anyways, if TF Safari, if you could get that nice C back in stock for me, thank you. In all seriousness, the amount of restraint they must have had to not sexualize this figure is pretty impressive. And as much as I do like sexualized figures, I can respect that they didn't go this route for this figure, because it's not always always necessary to do that. But if they did, I mean, you know, like, it's not like I would be complaining. Also, there is quite a decent amount of paintwork on here. Some of the purple is paint, along with the silvers, grays, and orange, some of the green, and then there's also quite a bit of blue paint on this figure, which wasn't really there in the original Armada Megatron design, but I do think it looks nice here. In terms of accessories, there's not a whole lot. We get this blaster, which also double as the cannons for the vehicle mode, and that's really about it. For the price point, I kind of wish this figure had more things that came with it. A Leader 1 figure would probably be too much to ask for. Maybe some changeable faceplates or extra weapons. I think I'm just being greedy at this point because the base mode for the robot itself is already a lot and pretty intricate. Like, I can't get over the treads. We do get a stat card. It basically says the exact same thing as it does on the box. We also get this red piece of plastic, so you can't see the stats on the back of the box. It's kind of like how it was with the old G1 figures. If you remember that, you're probably old. There's also instructions, but it's in a fold out, and my god, it is long. It should have been a booklet. While we're at it, let's take a look at the box art. I really like the artwork of Megatron over here. This is really hard to read, but it's in English. It says, infinite finity? Weird. Here's a quick look at the side of the box art. A look at the other side. This artwork is really nice with a close-up of her. And here's a look at the back. And I love the Animorph style transformation sequence going on. So the articulation on this figure is absolutely fantastic, I think. But because of this piece, she is going to be a little bit back heavy. So you kind of got to make her do that smooth criminal lean. Luckily, the diecast in the legs does kind of help keep the figure a bit stable, not as much as I wish it did. And a weird thing I noticed is that right over here, the box art shows the heels can kind of like come out like that. But unfortunately, on this figure, they don't come out like that, which would have been really nice to have to keep this figure more stable. So the head sculpt on this figure, it's so fantastic. The antennas come separately, and this is about as good as I can get them to be on all the way. The sculpt work from everything from the head to the antennas to the faceplate all look great. There's also a lot of fantastic paintwork on here. I love the colors on it, and I think the faceplate looks really great with a little bit of designs going on around the mouth, some nice purple lips, and orange eyes. The head sculpt is basically the Armada design, but slimmed down a bit, which is honestly basically the entire figure. And here are the head sculpts side by side. As you can see, the inspiration is there, even though they are a little bit different. The chest piece looks really great. It incorporates similar elements of the original design, but I guess in a more feminine way, and it's done really well. The Decepticon insignia area is the same, as long as the side pieces as well as the abdomen pieces. The paint job on here is also really great, and yes, she does have boobs. Compared to the original, that is how it looked side by side. And as you can see, there's quite a bit of similarities. One thing I did notice is that the chest piece doesn't have that like asymmetry as it does on here. Not really a big deal. Now the shoulder pieces look fantastic. They aren't as high up as they are on the original design, but I do think they look nice here. Quite a bit of blue paint on the side as well as some orange. It's not like that on the Legacy Armada figure, and I don't think it was like that on the original design, but it's not bad to have on this figure, and I do like some of that detail going on. And with the treads, I love how they do that. One thing this figure doesn't have for the shoulders is that flap that the original design had. The rest of the arms do look pretty nice, fairly basic though. One thing I do like is how the hands all have individual articulation to them. That is really nice. It does make things a little bit hard to grab at. I do like this little touch of orange for the elbow joint over there. The crotch area is very angular and it has some nice paintwork. The leg sculpt is honestly amazing. I love the little bits of detail they threw on here. Now obviously a lot of the design isn't going to be a one-to-one. This figure is much slimmer with different proportions and based off an entirely different mold. We do have some knee pads, which are really cool, and I like the little triangles pointing down. Pretty good looking leg sculpt for the rest of the figure, and the toes do look quite similar to the toes on the original, and I do believe they are die cast as well as this piece back over here. Also, the legs basically form like the top part of the tank, so when you're transforming this figure, they kind of stick out and it looks kind of funny. Now turning the figure around to the back, having the other parts of the tank mode be up here at the back does give this figure kind of a backpack, and when you look at it from the side and from the back, this area does seem kind of empty, but from the front, I do think it does look kind of nice. On one hand, I'm not fully sold on the backpack piece. It can kind of look awkward at times, but on the other hand, I'm surprised the backpack piece isn't like incredibly massive and the rest of the transformation actually incorporates into other parts of the figure, so it's not a shell former like that little B figure. Now you can mistransform the back and orientate it in different ways to where it's not as bulky and from the top, and if you do bring these around and out to the side like that, we can take off these pieces from the blaster and we can attach this over here, the other one on this one. We do get some side cannons similar to the original design, and we can flip them over to the top if that is something we wanted to do. And the connection on these is pretty tight. Now for the articulation, we can move this head back and forth. We can spin it around as well. The antenna pieces over here, they can also rotate, mainly as part of the transformation. Treads can spin. The arms can move out to the side. They do kind of run into the head. Rotation over there. These can shift down like that as well. You get a rotation over here, an elbow bend, which goes about 90 degrees. Hand rotation, the hands can move back and forth. Once again, we do get individual articulation. At the bottom, we do get a waist rotation that pretty much goes from side to side only. We do get an ab crunch as well. This can also move side to side. These legs can move out all the way up there, and we can pretty much spin them all the way around. We get a rotation over here, another rotation over here, a knee bend, foot rotation or ankle movement. Feet can move up and down, and then we get some toe movement as well. The heels can also move. I think that's everything. Hopefully I didn't miss anything, otherwise I will seem like an idiot. Now let's move on to the figure's transformation and the vehicle mode. So I've only transformed this figure twice, so let's see if I remember it. It is fairly easy, just a little bit involved. First, we want to make sure that the hands are not backwards. First, we want to make sure that the hands are in a fist like that. Same with this one. Next, we're going to take these pieces on the side and bring them up. This essentially locks the waist into place. Make sure it's fully tabbed in. Take these arm pieces and separate them. Push this back and rotate the arm to where this piece tabs into there. Rotate that, get that in there, and close this up to where it properly lines up like that. And do the same over here. Tab that in, close that up. Flip the figure over. We'll take these pieces, close them in. Same with this, close that in. Make sure we bring them out and down over there. Same here, bring that out and down. Make sure they go under the legs. Bring the legs up like that. Open that chest piece, open that back piece. Bring this up and over. Same over here, and we can tab that together. We'll worry about that later. We'll take these pieces now, bring them back, and these will essentially shift up. And there is a tab over there that's supposed to tap into that. Get that in there. Get this to line up. Rotate that hand around. We're gonna do the same over here. Make sure that lines up. For the head, we can rotate it this way and bring the antennas back all the way down. And this covers up the head over there like that. I'm gonna adjust everything real quick. Okay, I finally got everything tabbed in. That part can be a bit tedious and it looks really funny like this now. But now what we can do is we're going to come to the feet. We're going to close that in. Same over here. Get that in there. And now we rotate this leg around. Make sure this is bent like that. Close that up. And this part needs to come around and tab into that. Line that up. It might be a bit of a pain. This needs to line with that. Bring that down and shift it back like that. And we're going to do the same over here. Ooh, I messed up. Okay, we need to rotate the waist this way, and let's make sure, let's try to lock that back in. That didn't work. That's fine. Rotate this around that way. Same over here, rotate that around. Make sure these are still shifted back. Make sure it's all lined up. We're not done yet. We're gonna take the blaster, we're gonna open that up. Make sure these are facing this way, and this part is also a little bit tedious. This needs to go into there, while these basically line up in there. We can get it. Okay, I'll do that off camera. Okay, finally done. There's these two tabs here that this plugs into. So here is the tank mode for the figure. This is a fairly neat looking tank mode. A little bit of a hassle to get it to actually transform, but once you do get a very nice looking tank mode. We get the two dual cannons up here at the top instead of just the one like on the original design. One thing I like about this is that we do have this little top manhole over here. That's a really cool addition to have. I do like some of that detail there as well. A lot of the tank detail on here is really nice. We do also have a little bit of paintwork over here and here. That's also really nice. From underneath, it compacts in pretty well. And once again, the treads on here are amazing. Very satisfying to do. The Legacy figure doesn't even have this. It just has like regular wheels. I do love the variation of all the different colors on here and how they blend together. The purples and blues look really nice. Maybe the crotch piece from the back looks a little weird because you can kind of tell what it is. It is hard to keep everything like properly lined up. That's just how the figure is going to be. Overall, it is a pretty decent tank mode. Now, if you enjoyed this video, make sure to leave a like and subscribe, and check out this other video over here, which I think you'll probably like.